Hello, dear listeners. This is your host, Osheye. It's so good to be back, and we're excited about the interviews coming your way. We've got guests across different verticals, from food, public relations, consulting, technology and the social sector, to faith, hospitality, music, and many more. We've also got 2 new features to share with you. You asked for it and we listened. We're pleased to introduce the 1-to-1 Friday newsletter by Origins Africa, where we capture every Friday 1 lesson, 2 quotes, and 1 question from each podcast episode published earlier in the week. Hence the name 1-to-1 Friday newsletter by Origins Africa. What are you waiting for? To subscribe, simply go to originsafrica.substack.com. originsafrica.substack.com. First newsletter comes out this Friday. See you there. And now to the second feature. We're excited to let you know that you can now catch video snippets of some of our guest interviews, starting with this episode. Check out our channel on YouTube, Origins Africa Podcast, and please do subscribe, like, send in a comment, and share. Origins Africa Podcast. Let's make a difference together, one origin story at a time. Thank you. And that's all for now. Enjoy.
In my head, I'm like, I just need to get 50 people to walk into the store every day. I thought that was easy. If I got 50 people to buy pineapple, watermelon, and some apples every day, then I should be able to make like 100,000 every day. This was 2010. If I made 100,000 every day, every month, that was 3 million.
Okay.
And I felt like, yeah, it's a good business, right? And that was the premise. And then we started November 6th. And then we opened the next day and there was nothing.
How much? Nothing at all?
Because I think we went about maybe between 3,000 or 5,000 the next day.
Okay.
And it stayed like that for a long while. And then the reality hits.
My father told me life is not a bitter road.
This is Origins Africa Podcast, where we explore the origin stories of people who have made and are making their dreams come true, asking the what, the when, the how, and the why. I'm Osheye, and on this episode, we meet Olagoke Balogun, the co-founder and CEO of Soulfresh, Nigeria's pioneer and #1 healthy food chain, providing fresh, delicious, nutrient-rich healthy meals and committed to promoting a healthy lifestyle. This is the first of a 2-part series, and here you hear Goke talk about his early years and defining moments, how SoFresh started in 2010 as Fruitivegies, as well as how he came close to quitting the business. There is a famous quote by Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, which really resonates with many entrepreneurs. According to Reid, if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you've launched too late. The focal point of this philosophy is that it's more important to launch a product and iterate than take extra time perfecting a product before you launch. This is because most successful entrepreneurs often do not begin with a great idea, but with a very simple idea that solves a real problem. As they work on those simple ideas, they start to understand the market and notice clues which they adopt and change along the way to make the idea or product better. That is exactly how Soulfresh started in 2010, from a very simple idea of selling whole, fresh, healthy and dry foods to people in an organized, serene, hygienic environment. The business started as Fruitivegies, and as the name implied, they sold mostly fruits and vegetables. 10 years, several iterations, and 14 locations after, Fruitivegies has evolved to what we know today as SoulFresh, Nigeria's pioneer and #1 healthy food chain, providing fresh, delicious, nutrient-rich healthy meals and committed to promoting a healthy lifestyle. Today, SoulFresh sells a wide range of fresh salads, juices, smoothies, parfait, fiesta wraps, sandwich, and other quick on-the-go healthy meals. Curiously, what gave birth to the simple idea of selling fruits and vegetables?
So I grew up in Ilorin. And if anybody's familiar, it's, back in the 80s, 90s, it was quite agrarian, right? So I grew up, eating fresh foods all the time. And we had big gardens in my house, probably had close to like 15, 14 types of fruits in the house. We had farms, so I was just used to eating fruits and vegetables fresh from the farm, and it just came naturally. And then when I got to Lagos, much later, in my journey, I found that I didn't have that easy access any longer, and that was part of things that birthed the journey of SoFresh.
Okay. So when you say part of the things, what other things?
Okay, so that just having that access to fresh fruits and vegetables, and then the second part of it was going to the market. So when I was really young, I used to go to the market with my mom a lot, and I hated that experience. It was, of course, it was dirty. It was always sunny. We were walking long distances to get what we needed. So there was one section for vegetables, for example, and then there was another section for dry fish, and another section for meat. And so that was not a journey I looked forward to, but I had to do it. I was the last boy, so I had to do it a lot.
The last boy, but not the last child, or both the last boy and last child?
No, not the last child. The last child, yeah. I have a sister.
Okay.
And 2 other brothers.
Okay.
So when I got married, I moved to Lagos with my wife, and I started the same journey with her. So we'll go to the market together, and I just started reliving all those youthful years. I didn't like the experience as well, not because I didn't like shopping, but because they were dirty. A lot of times smelling, flies, and I thought that was not the best way to shop, And then I started telling my wife that I think we can change this. There should be a better way. This was 2009 when we started a discussion.
Okay.
I'm not even sure ShopRite had come into Nigeria, right? So I had never seen an organized food, or what you can call a farmer's market. I had never seen it. So I just started to think about it. So this was 2008.
Okay.
That I started thinking about it. So those two things, that experience that I didn't have easy access, and then the experience of going to the markets all the time, that, and then, of course, my wife got pregnant, and then sometimes, she gave birth, and then sometimes I have to hold the baby in the car. Sometimes I have to go together. And then I was always, I was in oil and gas. So I was always going on and off. So sometimes I would leave her for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I didn't just like, that experience of her shopping. It used to be Ogba Market, because we lived close by. And so we said, let's change this. I would like to shop in an organized, serene environment where you have everything in one place. You have your fruits, you have your vegetables, you have your food stuff. So that was the original idea for SoFresh, to sell just whole, fresh, healthy, and dry foods.
But in a more organized setting.
In an organized setting.
And to give convenience.
Yeah, convenience, clean, hygienic. Yep.
Okay. And this was 2007, 2008.
Yeah, when the conversation started.
Then you went live, so to say, in 2010. So what happened in between?
So in between, I traveled out with my company for a training to South Africa. And then, funny story, we got there. Of course, it was during the winter, and we were told that we were going to go to the market to do winter shopping.
Okay.
We're about 25, 40 thereabouts. So they packed us in the bus, and then we drove off to the market. And then we got to the market, and then they said we were at the market, and I'm like, this is not possible. Why? Because it was a mall and everything looked clean, everything looked sparkling, the shops were shining. Unfortunately, I had never seen a mall in my life.
I see.
Shopping mall. And I'm like, this can't be a market. This is not what I call market in Nigeria. But of course, we went around, we shopped for some warm clothing. Then I entered, Pick and Pay, and was just like ShopRite, and I was blown away. I saw this huge fruits and vegetables section. I'm like, this is exactly what I've been thinking about.
Okay.
And the next day we went to another store. I think it was called, I can't remember. I think it's now Food Lovers Market. It used to be called a name.
Okay.
Yeah, and all they sold in that store was fruits and vegetables. So imagine like an half size of a ShopRite size, and everything there was fruits and vegetable. And I would always go there, just spend. I spent 2 years in South, and I would always spend hours just shopping around. I mean, I saw apples, peppers, almost looking like plastic, So I fell in love again, and that rekindled, the idea. Okay. So we got back in 2008. To Nigeria, and then I started working again. I went for training, and there and then we started planning and strategizing. And then in 2010, we went live, just selling fruits, vegetables. That was what we were selling. We had some like grocery stuff. So they were mostly canned fruits, canned vegetables. So if you came into the store in the very early days, that was all we did, all fruits.
So you returned in 2008.
Yep.
So what happened? I know you mentioned you're planning and strategizing between 2008 and
2010. So of course I just got back. We just finished training. And then I had to resume fully at work. So I was back to home. So I was working, within those years. Basically, my wife started a law firm. She's a lawyer. She started a law firm. So we were both working. And then somewhere in 2009, we got serious with the idea again.
What happened? Was there a trigger?
So this time there was no specific trigger, but I think we just kept thinking about it, and maybe the growing frustration of having to go to the market, not having easy accessibility to the kinds of fruits and vegetables we would like to eat. Interestingly, she also had the same experience growing up because she grew up in Offa. Offa is just about 40 minutes from Ilorin. So we had about the same experience. And so when we started sharing, it was mutual. And sometime mid-2009, we decided to go for this.
You started in 2010.
Yes.
So mid-2009, you decided to go for this. What does that mean, or what did that entail?
Yeah, so we decided that we were going to do this. We're going to open a fruits and vegetable store. And so we... I mentioned we started doing research. So first of all, where do we buy fruits? So we went to one of the fruit markets, all the big fruit markets in Lagos. My 12, K2, there's one at Oyingbo. There's one around Oshodi. Then I think that's no longer there. Doing research, trying to find suppliers.
So you wanted to find suppliers?
Yes, finding suppliers, costing, all of that. We were also doing research on even how do we preserve fruits and all of that. Because there's a science behind everything, really. So there are even fruits you don't store together. For example, apple with other fruits make the other fruits spoil faster. So we have to learn all of that. So I'm a stickler for details, doing everything right. My wife is the let's go and let's move. So it was a great compliment. So Yeah, we spent time doing all of that. Then we started looking for a property, a space, register the company.
What was the name then?
So the name was Fruitivegies.
Okay.
I coined the name, and with the benefit of hindsight, I say it's a very ugly name. That was my name. That was one I coined. I just joined fruits and veggies, and I called it Fruitivegies.
What did your wife say when she heard it?
She it was okay. She liked it then. Or I think she liked it. Maybe she didn't say she didn't like it. And then people found it very difficult to pronounce. Some would say Fujite, Fruitigees. But of course, down the line, we changed the name to this perfect name, which was the brainchild of my wife. So you can see it was a much better name than the one I had. Yeah.
When did this change happen? What year? SoFresh.
So in 2013, the business had gone through quite a few phases. Then 3 years after, we decided to move the business to Ikoyi.
Okay.
But not just about that, we had evolved over time.
Okay.
So it was no longer just about fruits and vegetables. So we thought we needed to have a name that reflected where the brand was going to.
Okay.
And so that was what gave rise to the name change in 2013.
And you heard it from your wife. Did you like it on the spot, or it grew on you?
The spot. So we had spent about 5 months experimenting with different names. Nature Fresh. Nature and this, whole and clean. We were trying with, and then one day she called me and said, "SoFresh," and I said, "Yes, that's it." Yeah.
Okay, interested. I'll go back a bit. So you've been the detailed research guy. Your wife been the spontaneous one. Did she sometimes get frustrated with how long research took in 2009 before you eventually launched? Okay.
And she would constantly ask me, are we still doing this, or we're not doing it again? At a point in time, she believed this wasn't going to happen again. But in my mind, I was just like processing and all of that. And so that 2010, maybe around mid-year, June, July, we were now actively searching for, we started talking about searching for a property.
Okay.
But of course, the me was still busy trying to plan and all of that. And then one day I'd gone to work. And then she called me and said she has found a property.
Okay.
Yeah, because and she was right. To her, like, this guy would never start this thing. So she just went and told me she found a property. It's very good, all of that. Okay. So I came back, we checked it together somewhere in Ogba. And we liked the property. And then
were you guys staying in Ogba then as well?
No, so we were staying around Ojodubega.
Okay.
So we paid for the property in 2000. Sometime in, I think, September or August.
You had funds set aside already, or you had to start saving for it and raise money for it?
Yes, we had funds set aside. Basically, our savings. So we used our savings to start the business.
So if not for maybe the push from your wife, do you think you'd have started eventually?
That so I say that probably not. Not because I didn't want to do it, but some events happened shortly after we started. So we started in November 2010. 3 weeks later, I got a letter from my company that I had to go on training in the US for another 1 year. And I always have a feeling that if we had not started before I got that letter, would have, because she eventually joined me, for about 9 months within the 1 year, would have rationalized that there's no point starting. Let's say I got that thing like 2 weeks before we started. I said, how are we going to start a business? And I'm leaving, we're leaving. So, so maybe not. Going to the US was another experience. I wouldn't know if I had gone and come back, I would still have that interest. I really can't say now. But then, I now traveled in February. We started in November. So basically left the business to someone else to run it, even though my wife was around for a short while after I left. So maybe not. I don't know.
Okay.
But our push, certainly was a motivating factor in, starting that early. Yeah.
So you left it to someone to run whilst you're doing the training, and your wife was, I guess, busy with her law practice as well?
Busy with her law practice, pregnant with the second child.
Okay.
And so sometime a little bit before mid 2011, she joined me in the US as well.
Okay. How long were you guys there for?
Just a year.
Okay.
So we're back 2011.
Okay. And what was the state of the business? I am sure you were having frequent calls with who was handling.
Yes. So when we started the business, I had a job while we started this business. My wife had a law practice. So from day one, we had always imagined that we were not going to be on ground running this business 24/7. So that was a mindset with which we started setting up the company.
Okay.
So trying to put some structures and system right from the start.
Okay.
The training, policies, SOPs, even though it was a really small space. But again, because I'd had long years working in very organized environments, I'd worked in UAC, I'd worked in NBC, that's Coca-Cola, I'd worked in Chevron. So we brought that to bear when we're setting up, initially. So yeah, there was a lot of structure and systems around, even, reporting, what to do, what not to do, and all of that. So yes, while I was away, it was managing. So before the world started doing work from home, I was running my business from the US. So it was emails, it was weekly calls, monthly calls, and all of that. And yeah.
Was it booming?
So no, it wasn't booming. So business was not what we thought it was. So when we started, we did some. Even though I had a lot of interest in business, maybe read a few business books, but I didn't really understand what running a business looked like. So in my head, I'm like, I just need to get 50 people to walk into the store every day. I thought that was easy. Then they were going to buy pineapple. Pineapple was probably maybe 100 or 200 naira then or less. So I said, because we like fruits, we eat fruits a lot. So I thought if I got 50 people to buy pineapple, watermelon, and some apples every day, then I should be able to make like 100,000 every day. This was 2010. If I made 100,000 every day, every month, that was 3 million.
Okay.
And I felt like, yeah, it's a good business, right? And that was the premise. And then we started November 6th. Of course, we didn't even know a lot of people in Lagos. We just moved to Lagos in 2008.
Okay.
2010, everybody we knew, maybe like less than 20 people in Lagos. We called them for the opening. My wife's family lived in Lagos. 2 of them, they came for the opening. It was a very nice setting. And then we made about 25,000.
Okay. The first day? Okay.
Mostly from people we invited, right? And then we opened the next day and there was nothing.
How much? Nothing at all?
Okay, so I think we made about maybe between 3,000 or 5,000 the next day.
Okay.
And it stayed like that for a long while. And then the reality hits. There was a lot of excitement. There was a lot of enthusiasm starting the business. Who doesn't eat fruits and vegetables? But getting customers into the store became the first biggest challenge for us. One, people are not used to shopping fruits and vegetables like that in 2010. And we had a local market just, opposite us. And even though we priced at the same thing, people did, because if you came into us and say, well, you wanted apples, it was 100 naira, we will say it was 100 naira. But then if you go to the local market and say it was 110, maybe they might accept 95 or the same 100 at the end of the day. So people would prefer to go across to the street and, buy the open market. Because they can bargain. Also because we're not attracting a lot of customers. So in the early days, our fruits, when we got them, wasn't as fresh because ours stayed longer. So if we were not going to the market every day. So what you find mostly in open markets are every day they went to the market to buy new supplies from farmers bringing it. We bought and kept for a few days, and then so all of that made it difficult. However, when we started the first 1 month, we found out that customers came in and a few of them started asking for, do you do fruit packs, fruit salad? We said no. People would come and say, what about juices? No. What about smoothies? And when those requests became persistent, I said, wow, customers are telling us something. This is what they want. This is probably how they see this store. They are not coming into this store to buy pineapples, but when they want ready-made stuff, they are coming to the store. So I remember driving straight down to Game.
This was still before you traveled.
No, we were starting the business. Yeah, this was before we traveled. Yes, this was just a month after we started.
Okay.
Sales wasn't growing. I don't think we eat more than 10,000 per day in the first 1 month.
Okay.
So I drove straight to Game, and then I just entered the Game. Then I just asked them for what's your biggest juicer and your biggest smoothie maker. Got it and brought it into the store. It was a very tight, small table. Put it in the center of the store. Put the juicer and the smoothie maker there, and that was what birthed, the foundation of what we do today. So we started making juices and smoothies.
But before then, you had never made juices and smoothies before.
For sale, no.
Even what for yourself?
Not really.
And then demand was, so customers were asking for it, and you said to go.
But I traveled to South Africa and I had, juices and smoothies made, fresh.
Okay.
But it was not something I did myself ever. For customers that were coming, so we were falling. The store was really set up, really nice, excellent.
Okay.
So we were attracting really, high income customers. They were the ones that were coming, the few estates around.
Okay.
People came from Magudo. People came from some estates in Oba.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of them had traveled out. Some of them had lived outside the country. And when they came to the store, they loved the store. They were like, wow, this is excellent. They've never seen this before.
Okay.
This looks like what I found when I was away and all of that. And so we got, the smoothie and the juice maker, and then we started doing juices and smoothies.
Did you learn it, or you just happened at the spot? Or
you have to learn. So I'm a very DIY person. Went online, researched about, how to make juices, how to make smoothies, what kind of recipes you can combine, and why all of that. So we started putting, of course, it was very simple at first: watermelon, pineapple, and orange. Then we started experimenting with fruit packs, fruit salads. And so we were doing that, and we found out that customers were loving that. That was bringing in customers.
Okay.
Right? And then
this was the second month.
This was about the second, third month. And sales tripled.
Okay.
And this was bringing in customers. And as they were coming in, they were also, of course, now buying the whole fruits.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we started adding other things, some groceries, mostly healthy groceries. Some of them we started bringing them in, importing them. So things like chia seed, flax seed.
Okay.
Again, remember this was 2010. You can probably find all of those things in most supermarkets.
Okay. But then
it wasn't there. Again, the addition of those healthy groceries, like even things like granola. We used to import in granola, muesli, oats, flaxseed, chia seed, avocado oil, coconut oil. Those things are also pivotal because those were things so the health awareness had started growing.
Okay.
And SoFresh became Fruitivegies then became one of the. So I say, you're looking for flaxseed. I bought my own at Fruitivegies. So they came for flaxseed. But then they found, you have these juices, you have your smoothies. And
you hadn't started parfait then?
No, we hadn't started parfait. Parfait is still a long way.
Okay.
In fact, we weren't doing vegetable salads. We were just doing juices, smoothies, and fruit packs.
Okay.
And then we were doing groceries.
Okay.
We did healthy cereals. We did whole wheat pasta.
Okay.
So everything around, healthier, versions and all that. We did nuts. We were bringing in pistachios and all of that. Still in that, really small space. However, it was still not at the level expected.
You were still expecting to be making 3 million monthly.
Yes.
And at the moment,
we're probably doing like 1.52 thereabout.
Monthly?
Yeah, monthly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, monthly then, yeah. And so now I had to travel out. So I left in February. And so and then my wife probably joined me around June or July or thereabout.
Okay.
And basically business stalled, right? Because, it was a newly employed manager we put there with staff. So even though I was coming home periodically every 3 months, what we just wanted the guys to do was to maintain. So we maintained what we had. There was really no growth, but the business was there and it wasn't profitable.
Okay.
And so, but, we knew, okay, maybe because we are not around and all of that. So we came back in 2011 and then we faced the business again.
When you say you fixed it?
We faced the business, yeah. Started adding new stuff. So we brought in things like yams, potatoes, dry fish, some snacks. We just started adding stuff to what we were doing. Sales was growing, but at a very slow pace. And then, again, reality sets in that a business has bills to pay, right? So we had to renew rent.
Okay.
And then the business wasn't profitable. So government, taxes, agencies, local government levies started getting interested. And we found when they came into the store, this is a beautiful store. You guys must earn money. This is like this is like an abroad store. And then they will slam those bills and then we'll start trying to negotiate and all of that. And then, the power situation, spending a lot. Summary, what I'm saying was there was tough. Business wasn't profitable. And we were still not getting enough customers into the store. So at the peak of what we did daily was about average 50.
Okay.
The very good days, it was going to be like 60, 70, which was really far in between. It was tough. We weren't able to cover our expenses.
Okay.
And so the next thing we did was I hit the streets. Yeah. There was no Instagram, Facebook ads. I'm not sure there was. I'm sure that there was Facebook, but I didn't even know about Facebook ads. There were not even too many Nigerians on Facebook. There was no Twitter. So I'd hit the streets, got flyers, got an army of 2-3. My wife would be in the store.
I think I learned though before this that maybe you hadn't been really keen or interested in advertising. I think I heard something around that.
Yeah, so not that I was not keen, but I was not knowledgeable. So the knowledge that what I thought was have a good product, customers will come. But no, they will not come because they were not coming. So I had to go out and I hit the streets. I walked the length and breadth of every estate around Ogba. Name it, College Road, Akiode, everywhere. Then down to Magodo, Omole Phase 1. Not Magodo, Omole Phase 1. Up to Bega. Then the opposite.
This is every
estate.
weekend.
Not every weekend. I was doing 2 weeks on 2 weeks off. Every day I was around, every single day. Got like 3-4 guys with me. Walked every street, distributing flyers down to Adeni Jones. Just everywhere around Ogba. We were doing that every day for about 3-4 months. It did yield results.
Okay.
But still
wasn't
not enough, right? And around about the 3-year marks, I started to get frustrated because I was working in the oil and gas, earning really good pay, and I was basically supporting the business with all funds, savings, all of that. The same thing with and I started asking myself, why am I doing this, right? I could have this money for myself, travel a couple of times in the year, and really live a good life.
Who sent you to start?
Besides, you have a good job. So what was the problem? So I called my wife and I said, baby, this thing is not working.
What year was this?
This was 2013.
Okay.
Early 2010. I said, baby, this thing is not working. And she agreed. But, so we had a lengthy discussion. We call it the strategy sessions. It was happening everywhere, really, in the dining, on the bed, on the road, everywhere. But this thing is not working. We're spending a lot of... And I didn't have, I remember I said I didn't have a lot of business knowledge. So I was trying to say, this business should not make a loss. So I was giving money to the company. I wasn't accounting for it. Oh. So I'll just buy, if I buy raw material, I'll buy it so that the company will not make a loss. And I didn't even know that I could write it against the books of the business as a loan. So I was doing all of that in the beginning years. I didn't want this business to make a loss, So I was just supporting the business with money, when we needed stuff, but it wasn't covering its expenses. So after 3 years, I said, we've done this thing for 3 years. I think we should just pack this thing up. It wasn't making sense and all of that. And so about half year, we brought in an accountant. And
2013 half year, you brought in an accountant?
Okay, no, so not 2013. Okay, so we had an auditor before.
Okay.
Yeah, so 2013, I had a friend accountant that, has had a lot of experience in the banking industry. So I brought him to just come help us make sense of these numbers. And then I remember he did the numbers and told me that before we can start making profit, we needed to hit a particular revenue per month. Okay. And it was like times 4 of what we're doing. And I'm like, this guy's crazy. I really want me to get times 4 what I'm doing, right? Like, I didn't believe him. So this guy does the form stuff.
Okay.
So I said, okay, that's fine.
You didn't believe that you needed times 4? Or you didn't believe
I didn't that times 4. Like, you know how you do, if you're not really knowledgeable, I'm like, no, if I can make, so maybe then I'm making like 2.5. If I can make 5 million.
You'll be fine.
I'll be fine.
He's now saying you need times 4. That's like 10 million.
No, he doesn't. He said that it was saying at the minimum times 3.
Okay.
I don't know if I can just double this revenue, you should come. Yeah. I didn't even understand a lot about COG, that's cost of goods sold, your inventory, cost of storage. Because if you increase revenue, so many other costs would increase, right? So in my head it was, if I go from 2.5 to 5,
you're fine.
I'm fine. So of course I thanked the guy left, and I just told my wife, this thing will not work.
So Goke got to that point in his journey where he felt like quitting. But before we proceed to what happened next, let's explore the early childhood experiences and defining moments that Goke had growing up, which formed the entrepreneur and leader he's become today. And we'll get to that right after this short break. Don't go anywhere. I'm Osheye, and you're listening to Origins Africa podcast. Hi, dear listener. If you love our show, please leave us a review on iTunes and Apple Podcast. You can also send us a tweet or comment on Instagram at OriginsAF. We love to read from you. Nopes, not later. Yes, I read your mind. Do it now. Thanks a lot. Also, you can now watch video snippets of some of our guest interviews. Simply go to Origins Africa Podcast on YouTube. Origins Africa Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like our videos, and share. Let's make a difference together, one origin story at a time. Hi guys, welcome back to Origins Africa Podcast. So, what was growing up like for Goke as a young boy in the city of Ilorin?
Growing up in Ilorin was really fun. Very easy, what people now call soft life. Lagos is hard life, right? Ilorin was really soft. I had fun, growing up. Things were much, safer, saner. I remember being able to, go by myself as little as, 10, walk distances, kilometers to play with friends and come back home or walk in the streets all by ourselves. And when I was in class 4, I remember going every day from like Okwebi to, let's say, Oshodi for lessons, common entrance lessons. So it was just a lot of fun. So I had a interesting time, growing up.
How's mom like and dad? Were they strict or warm and fuzzy?
No, so not really. I wouldn't consider them strict. But of course,
is this in hindsight?
No. Even then,
Okay.
but there were boundaries.
Okay.
My dad, for example, wasn't the beating type. Maybe once or twice, and well deserved. I can't even remember what I did, that warranted that, for example. But of course, there were boundaries. It was a lot of loving, and my leadership style, for example, is very democratic, and I learned that from my dad. So he took a lot of decisions. I don't know, maybe he just was trying to.
Okay.
But he took a lot of decisions involving the kids. Things as simple as he wanted to buy a car, he wanted to move to a new house, wanted to travel on vacation. Okay, where should we go for the weekend? And that's what I tried to do. So it was a lot of loving, a lot of community, growing up.
Who would you say had a great influence on you? I think maybe I just say, is it your dad?
So it must be my mom, and the main reason was so around about the time when I was maybe like between 11 and 13, I can't be sure. My dad traveled out for about 7 years.
Oh, okay.
And there was no video call. There was no. So it was letters and Nitel. We used to drive down to a commissioner's house in Ilorin. Then the days he was going to call in the middle of the night. Sometimes I followed my mom. So that was when I could have had a lot of so I'm probably closer to my mom just because of that period. Like my brother, because they were
spent some time with him
before he traveled. So he came back after 7 years, and by the time I was coming back, I went for service here the next.
I see.
The next year.
Okay.
And so maybe the greater influence would be my mom, but he also had a lot of influence on me. Just growing up, especially being a great dad, a great husband. But my dad was almost always around in the house, and so I'm almost always around too, right? So I learned a lot from him. He really prioritized his family, and so I learned a lot from him. Resilience. He was a lecturer. He lost his eyes. He like 70 to 80% lost his eyesight. And so that really had a great impact on him. But through that, he weathered that storm, rediscovered himself, picked up new interests, and, he came back up again. So I really learned a lot from him as well.
So looking back through the years growing up, what would you say were defining moments that shaped who you've become today?
So one of it will be when my dad had some eye, and then he was retrenched. I can't remember the year, and he had to travel out to seek medical attention. Right, that period was tough. One, dad was not around. My two brothers had left home, so I had a more, what would I call it? I'm the third one. Usually I don't have a lot of responsibilities, but dad had gone. My brother was in the university. My brother was living with another aunt. So I had a lot of responsibilities, in the house. But more than that was that finances in the home was really now constricted. Dad wasn't working. Mom was also a lecturer, and we had so many people living with us apart from just, the sibling, which were 4. And so my mom started doing business. Probably that was part of what played in my conscience. She started doing business. She was selling, at the point in time, she was selling yam flour, palm oil. She was lecturing. Then, eventually my dad got, my dad was able to process his gratuity from Para State. And then we really thought, what are we going to do with this money? And so we started business. So we started a photocopying business. And I was in charge of that. And those years doing this photocopy business, by my first year when I didn't get admission to the school, most of my colleagues now got University of Learning. I was doing photocopying. I used to be, a bit really ashamed then, but I'm like, it is what it is, I went back to take JAMB and all of that story, but that period, made me very resourceful. It was in thinking back, I knew how much that period had impact. I was running the business together with my mom. I remember I would drive we had jobs. So because she was a lecturer, she got like maybe copying jobs from the school. So, and there was usually power in the night. So we would drive to the office, the shop. And my mom, a lecturer, she would both sleep overnight. We would take shifts. So because she was going to go to the office the next day, she will start the shift. She can start around 10 and she will do photocopying till 2. She'll wake me up. She will go back to sleep and then I'll run it till 6, 7. We'll drive home. She'll take her bath and she'll go back to until so eventually we engaged staff, 1 or 2. And so I was managing. Then we went from it was College of Education. So we had 2 photocopy machines. Then we had 1 in the university. So before I entered university, I was managing 2, 3 locations, doing photocopying. I really enjoyed it. I even started getting to know how to do some minor repairs. So I became very resourceful. I learned about business, also managing people, sourcing and all of that. So that was one period that was really defining, shaped who I was. I didn't even realize,
of course,
at all.
Of course,
right?
Of course.
I think another thing was just the way I grew up. So I grew up a church boy.
Okay.
And the church I attended was really unique. And maybe that period as well. There was a lot of connection and family orientation. Let me say community.
Okay.
And that really shaped, who I was. Because I had just so many great friends that were just happy being involved in each other's lives, looking out for the good of each other. There was friendship. And I'm not talking of 1, 2 people, like imagine, 20, 30, 40 people. Our parents were friends. We were friends.
Okay.
Up to now, so I have actually a very strong sense of, community. Sometimes the way I relate with my staff, they're a bit surprised because I really don't see them. I just see us as a community of people together, Forget about is the CEO, is the owner. Let's forget about that. When we are doing interviews, like you can mention that. But when we are working, so I really believe in that, in a strong sense of community and all of that. I mean, I guess those were like 2 really
defining moments for you.
For me. Yeah.
What dreams did you have then? As a young boy, what did you hope to become?
Plenty dreams. Interestingly, not running a business was not one of them. As a young one, I'd been a pilot in my head. I'd been an electrical engineer in my head, then accounting. But when I started having maybe some really structured dream, I just knew that I thought I was going to go into research.
Okay.
Because I wanted to be an inventor. So I thought I was going to do research. And I just knew that I wanted to make a lot of money because I wanted to help the society. So I know I had dreams of like having, making so much money, being able to build good schools, being able to build hospitals. In terms of dreaming, that's probably, the dreams that formed me the most. Just being able to afford to be able to provide those kinds of facilities with people.
So you've always been an impact-driven person.
Yes, and I also was going to be free. I was going to have so much money. I was going to build hospitals free, build schools. People attend it free. Yeah.
Where would you say this?
I've not done that though.
Well, you're starting with SoFresh, like you said, and you're having the impact already. But where would you say that drive came from? The need to want to build schools and hospitals to help people?
So I'm not sure. I'm not really sure how that came about. So I'm not sure.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm not sure.
How did you then end up studying biochemistry in the university?
It was jam.
Okay.
So I was supposed to be a medical doctor. I wanted to study medicine. So I wrote jam the first year. I did well, but I didn't meet the cutoff. I think I got to 20 something.
Were you offered an alternative course, but you rejected?
I didn't even pursue it. So I did JAMB again, and then I went to do A levels, hygiene.
Okay.
So I did JAMB again. Interesting, I got about the same score, maybe just like 224 instead of 222.
Okay.
I still didn't get admission. Then I did IGMB, and then I had a good. I also had a good score. I think then it was 11 over 15 points. I had 11 points, but then the cutoff for medicine that it was 14 points because there was a lot of. So I had to study for biochemistry. Like, I can't be doing this.
Did you enjoy it?
So I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed biochemistry. I was the best student in my class, best graduating student. I really enjoyed doing biochemistry. And my lecturers wanted me to come back to come and work and do and all of that. But I didn't think that was the right move then. So I said no. And some of my uncles wanted me to go back to study medicine. And I didn't just see it. Like, I'm not going to go and do another 5 years of this in the Nigerian university. And there was a lot of clamor because, so another small interesting story, I would have been the first medical doctor in my village. As at then, there was no medical doctor. My dad was the first doctor of letters. So, for example, you go to my village and say, you're looking for a doctor. That's my dad, but was doctor of letters. I would have continued being the first medical doctor. So everyone was like, so my people, let me go and find my level. So so I did biochemistry. I really enjoyed it. It was a great course, but I didn't go back to do. Even some of my lecturers wanted me to come back and do medicine. I said no.
At that point, what did you hope to do?
So at this point, I wanted to get a job in a multinational company.
Okay.
I started life. That was
as a biochemist or something else?
I was biochemist. I was thinking I'll work in the lab. I can work in the lab. I can work in quality. Those are things I had in mind. They weren't coming, of course, job wasn't that, this was 2003.
Okay.
So I started applying for jobs. And then I got a job at UAC restaurant, Mr. Biggs. Let's do it.
As the manager of the...
So that's supervisor.
Okay.
I spent just 4 months. And then I got a job as sales in Coca-Cola. And then I left. And then I did sales for about 1.5 years. And then I got a job with the oil company.
How was the experience? How would you compare experience at Mr. Biggs with Coca-Cola and then the oil company?
So my best job for me was Mr. Biggs. I loved it.
Okay.
So I love that experience because I was responsible for the outcome of the store. So I was managing the store. I was learning sales. I was learning HR, people management. I was learning inventory.
Okay.
I was learning production management. I was learning supply chain. I was dealing with suppliers. And in 4 months, I really gave myself to that job. I learned so much. And the first few years of SoFresh, those experiences of 4 months was really helpful.
I see.
In designing system and all of that and all of that and all of that. So yes,
Mr. Biggs would.
I enjoyed, but the pay was meager.
Okay.
I think my salary was 27,500. Then I'll get a one-time 90,000. I was in or the rent allowance, 27,500. And they didn't even pay me for 4 months.
Oh.
Because then they had just really started our franchising program. So when they employed us, they didn't know if they were going to give us to franchise or it was going. So there was that back and forth for 4 months. I was still collecting money from my brother, from Ilorin, from mom sometimes. Eventually, they paid the 4th month, and I got employment letter from Coca-Cola that same month.
Okay.
So once I collected my money, I just dropped my resignation letter.
And how was it? You spent 1.5 years in sales.
So I didn't like the sales job. I didn't like the Coca-Cola job. It was paying me like ×4, so I had to go.
Okay.
It was a no-brainer, but I didn't like the job. It was a field job. I was out every day. So NBC Coca-Cola started this market development. I don't know if they still do it. So we go out, take orders from dealers, go into the market, make sure that the dealers are also supplying their own customers. Make sure the merchandising was right. So I was just on the street, in the field, in the sun every day for 1.5 years. Maybe sometime around after 1 year, my mom gave her a car.
Okay.
Gave me a car to ease that.
Okay.
To ease that. But I didn't like it. But I learned a lot from it. Again, the answer I tell people, I gave myself to it. I didn't know that one day I was going to run a business. I was going to have to think about sales and marketing.
Because I was about to say that probably helped in you walking around the streets.
Yeah, so even though I didn't like the experience, I didn't just like it at all. And it was a lot of... So the most pressured job at NBC was sales, right? It was a lot of
targets to hit.
And I also learned that, Coca-Cola, I see they sell like they're a new company in the market. They sell like they're a new company in the market. So that was the job I enjoyed the least. I grew up in Ilorin. So I was my area was the interiors, place I never even been to. Like I was dealing with real local, people going into the street, basically selling coke and all of that. And at times it was frustrating, but it's what I had, and so I did it. And when I got back home, I was frustrated. I woke up the next morning and I did it. So 1.5 years, then I
got the old job.
I got another job, oil and gas, sweet pay. First of all, as I got the job, I went to training in South Africa, 2.5 years. One of the best times. We are not worried about food, utilities, anything.
Okay.
Transport, even they took us to and from work every day. So, yeah.
Okay. Then you got married and you guys decided to move to Lagos?
So I got married while training in South Africa.
Okay.
And then when we came back, we first of all went back to Iran. And then after like 6 months, I'm like, what am I? Because I could live anywhere. I was working in, not really offshore, but some area. So my wife said, she would like to move to Lagos. She probably have more opportunities and all of that. So we moved to Lagos in 2009.
Okay.
I got back to 2008. I moved to Lagos 2009.
Okay.
And I started business in 2010.
With these experiences that shaped the man Goke has become today, how was he able to navigate that trying period when he felt like giving up and calling it quits? How was Goke able to build Soulfresh into Nigeria's pioneer and #1 healthy food chain? Find out next week on Origins Africa podcast. Thank you for listening to our show this week. If you liked it, do leave us a review, a comment, and share with your friends. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend and to tell another friend. We would also love to read from you, so please do send us a tweet or leave a comment on Instagram at OriginsAF. You can also write to us at originsafricapodcast@gmail.com. Remember, do subscribe at wherever you get your podcast: Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, SoundCloud, amongst others. Catch our 1-to-1 newsletter where we share with you one lesson, 2 quotes, and one question from each episode published. You find it at originsafrica.substack.com. originsafrica.substack.com. And of course, if you like it, please click the like button, leave a comment, share with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe. I'm Oshaya, and you've been listening to Origins Africa podcast. Bye for now.
My father told me life is not a bitter road.